Hey, my name is Christoph, Christoph, and I'm here joined with Davie J. How's it going, Davie J?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
Great. This is the Third Eye Alliance official podcast. Tell us a little bit about the Third Eye Alliance, Davie J.
We are a group of like-minded individuals with a passion for spiritual, supernatural, weird, wonderful, cryptozoology, astrology, tarot cards, ghost hunting, UAPs, psychic phenomenon, and conspiracy theories, and pretty much anything else you can kind of throw in that. So
Now, this is both a video and an audio podcast. So those of you who are watching this in the form of the video podcast, you just witnessed Dave reading off a piece of paper. Can we see the piece of paper there, Davie J?
Sure, it is organized the way I like my organization.
We wrote that last week for the introduction last week. And see, these are the things that if you don't just listen to it, if you actually watch it as a video podcast, these are all the amazing things that you can witness, as well as my hair. Look at this. My hair is crazy today. Tell us about our guest today, Davie J.
Well, our wonderful guest today is Onamie. Welcome, Onamie. She's a Vedic astrologer who...
No, she's not. She's not. I asked her about that ahead of time. Tell us a little bit about yourself and you're the astrology that you do.
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing tropical astrology for about 15 years. I started learning about Vedic about 5 years ago, so I'm still getting acquainted with it. But a forever student of astrology. I've been a professional now for about 4 years, and every time I try to escape it, every time I try to pull away from it and be logical, everything goes to shit. I have to dive right back in. So I feel like I don't have a choice, but I love it. And I love reading for people. It helps me make sense of everything around me, all the craziness. So
And you feel like the universe is like pushing you to do this, right?
yeah, I have zero like say in it. Like I've tried. I've tried to just put it aside.
It was the same thing when I started doing like tarot cards. I started doing tarot cards on Fiverr. You're on Fiverr too. We're going to promote your Fiverr as well. But when I started doing it on Fiverr, it was just like everything just pulled me in. It's just like, guess what? You're doing 20 readings today. So yeah, like, and where are you driven? Like, where is it driving you to? What do you think the universe is trying to get you to do that you're kind of holding back from?
I think like knowing my own chart and like having experiences with reading and stuff, like I feel like I am being pulled towards doing astrology like full time, but mostly just to like help people. I think I have to go towards like helping people because every time, like usually when I get clients, they are either, I don't want to say desperate, but they feel like that and they feel like they don't know where to turn. One of my actual first clients was someone who was a big skeptic, one of my first clients on Fiverr, and but she was ready for it because life wasn't, she just needed some guidance, and that's usually how it is. And at the end of that reading, I think she's still a client. Like I've done multiple readings for her, so it's always nice too when skeptics come and then you're able to at least give them something to think about, like, hey, this isn't all like woo woo, it's it can be, you can experience it for yourself.
Yeah, and when I do, I try to make things as practical as possible. I try to make it like when I'm doing my readings, you see me shuffle the cards, you see me pull the cards. I try to make it, and it's interesting how many people that are like supposed not believers order. Like it's a lot of people. They know they just don't want to admit it, and that's kind of one of the things that Davie J and I are trying to do here with the Third Eye Alliance is to kind of remove the stigma of this sort of thing. It's okay to believe in this, and as far as the Third Eye Alliance, it's like a group. We're going to be making a group, a club type deal, and it's for everybody. It's for everybody, but for now, just for people that appear on the show. And if you want to be on the Third Eye Alliance, visit thirdeyealliance.com. You can submit to be a part of the Third Eye Alliance, and maybe you can be a guest on the show as well too. I'm just taking over. Davie, let's you ask a question.
What was it that first got you started in your interest in it?
So I grew up Hindu. Like that's the religion I grew up in was Hindu. I still am Hindu practicing. But a big part of that's where the Vedic astrology comes in. A big part of the Hindu religion is dealing with astrology. So that was my first introduction to it. And then I was very young. Um and then as time went on, when I moved to Canada finally, big question marks everywhere, right? Where I was a teenager. And so I'm like, let me just dive in because I always had an interest in it, but there was a big logical part of me that was like, oh, I have free will, I don't need to know about any of this. It's fine. Like so but I spent a summer reading everything I could about it, like on the internet, any books I could find, everything I could, memorized all the stuff that was possible to memorize. And then after that, started practicing. And that's after, like, I think about around like 15, that's
Uh,
when I really like went full force into it. But I got started at a very young age, and my mother is also like that. Like, she does believe in these things, but she's more religious, right?
right.
Rather than like she's spiritual. She says she's spiritual, but definitely practicing more on the religious side, right? So she is the one that actually gave me that space to be open with it, right? I was just always naturally like skeptical about everything. So that's why it took me some time. But yeah, that's how I started.
And when did you start reading other people? Like, of course, you probably started on your friends like we all do.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say like probably when I hit university, so early 20s, that's when I started to actually take it a little bit more seriously and challenge myself by reading. And I loved it. And what I found was, obviously you start on yourself, right? And up to this day, I'll look at my chart and have an aha moment or find something new, right? So
That's
I think
fun.
yeah, it's really interesting. So yeah.
What kinds of aha moments have you had for yourself like that?
Hmm. I think like I feel like we all I have will have some self sabotaging like things that I'll do or say maybe
Guilty.
yeah. Just like, patterns that you see come up, right? Like the kinds, like how I would react to certain conversations, like for example, with my parents, or why sometimes I think one of the biggest ones was being in a relationship and being close to someone. Why did it make me feel icky? But then when I checked my chart, I was like, okay, it's not the other person. It's just me having to come to terms with being okay, being open, having someone close to me. So it was a thing where I was like, okay, how do I work on it? And l- looking at the chart, once you understand it, it's helped me work on a lot of things like personality wise or like reactionary wise, like how I'm reacting to certain things. How can I regulate myself, right? Because a lot of us like will, go to therapy for, which is great. Like
Mhm.
everyone I think should go to
Yeah, I
therapy, right?
100% support therapy
Absolutely.
as well.
100%.
Yeah.
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 But this was when I was younger, at least one way for me to like get that self-awareness. It helped me be self-aware of myself. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. It's funny how everything is so connected like that. And
Yep.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have any questions, Chris?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. So, how much of astrology is intuition and how much of it is like number calculations and things like that? Like, is it just one or the other, or is it a combination of both?
Definitely a combination of both. You have to know the logical part of it, which is the calculation, signs, the houses, little bit basic geometry, these things, right? Very important. But I want to say it's like I want to say it's like 40-60, 40% logic and 60% intuition. Any astrologer like worth their salt is gonna have a good command of their intuition, right? And like recognize it and know how to use it. If you are reading astrology, like if you're reading a chart and there's no intuition involved, it's you could tell the difference in, like, you're just not going to get something that resonates with people, right? Because I feel like when I'm reading, my process is when I'm reading, I get into a certain flow state where I can, like, I'll get images in my head or words in my head that I know aren't from me, but they're coming in. And every time I mention those things, every time I talk about them, there's the person I'm reading for, there's a reaction. They definitely like relate to it. There's something there, right? So you have to have intuition when you're doing this stuff.
Absolutely. I believe that flow state is your intuition just taking over. That's the soul self taking over.
Yeah.
You have athletes talking about it. You have actors talking about it. That's being fully present in the moment. You're separating from your everything around you. Is just actually you're completely present and in the moment, and separated from everything behind you and everything in front of you. You're not worried about. It's only now. So
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You're
Now,
like that.
sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like a straight like sometimes I see it as like it's like lightning coming in sometimes. Like that's how it feels. Like I call it a download. Like I'll just get like, information that's like super accurate. And so yeah, definitely it's being present and that
yeah,
direct line.
absolutely. Yeah, everybody's talking about downloads now, and it's coming from source. It's not coming from internet. Actually, it comes from there too. Sometimes you get funky messages from
Yeah.
other people, and we're like,
Ooh,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
You know?
Tell the story, Davie.
My friend who I had just shown our first podcast to, um, was about to respond and let me know, and a link got sent to me through her chat. With a message in the link that looked like it was written by her, but at the bottom she's like, I have no idea where that link came from. And the message in it said, you guys touched on so many little things that I wanted to delve into more. So I hope you guys get into doing some more soon, with an exclamation point. I didn't click on the link. I sent it to Chris, and he safely opened it up and looked into it, and it had absolutely nothing to do with anything. So it was just this weird, funky
Wow.
message. And we're like, that's from somewhere else,
Mhm.
letting us know that we're doing
You're on the right
whatever.
track. Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
so we get little messages like that, and if that's what this show is all about, is to
Mhm.
try and show people that we get messages everywhere. You're walking down the street, you'll get little signs, or you'll get music coming from out of nowhere. I personally will once in a while have a song pop in my head randomly, and a week later I'll walk into a store and it's playing, and I'm like, oh, there's that song. Turn the corner, bump into someone I know. That's how the universe works. It's funky when you learn how to listen like that.
Yeah,
100%.
sometimes I've heard people calling my name from a distance, and then I look and there's nobody there. But then it's like I meant to go there, and
Mm.
yeah, you bump into somebody, or you find out something that you didn't know if you move in that direction. Most of the time, I'm busy though. When I hear the voices, I'm like, I don't got time. I'm gonna go do this. But every time I have followed, there's always been something there to kind of discover. Now, the wow factor. There's a lot of people out there that are doing, astrology, various types of astrology, but a lot of people don't have the wow factor, and you were kind of talking about that, like basically picking up on that information. And I call it the wow factor, because that's when people go, wow, right? How did you know that? How did you pick up
Yeah.
on this? And for me, every time I kind of encounter somebody that can do that, can make somebody say wow. Now, you did a reading for me, and I didn't give you I didn't give you everything you needed to do it. And I did that on purpose because I don't know. It's like it's that logical side of my brain
Yeah.
that's like, you don't want to know. And I'm constantly in a battle, because there's the intuition side, which keeps proving itself over and over again. And then there's the other side of my brain that's like, must be a robot and think logically. So I didn't give you any information, but still, like the reading that you provided me, major wow factor there. There's a lot of things, although I probably didn't tell you much about it, you know, I don't communicate well about things that scare me in a good way. But we've prepared some stuff today. We've provided you with information about
Yes.
Davie J, and you're going to be, I guess, doing some things with Davie. Tell us what you have for us.
All right. So yes, I have your birth info and I have a chart here. And so I was just looking at it, seeing what I can, read about you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Should be
Yeah.
interesting. I got nothing to hide.
Perfect. Yeah. So if we can start.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're going to share your screen or something,
Yeah, I'm gonna
correct?
try and I'm gonna try and share my screen here. This should be it. Yeah. I hope it looks okay. Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, now because this is going to be living as both a video and an audio podcast, kind of describe a little bit more about the different things that you're talking about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No problem. So this is your Western astrological natal chart, Davie. Okay, I'm not sure if you've seen it, like if you've done, readings before, but this is what like the Western chart would look like. Vedic charts will look a lot different, but
Okay.
what I find is the information is pretty much the same, just how you read it. So like I'm gonna keep it simple, but there's a few things because I know you are. Um, Christoph told me a Reiki master, right? So it was very interesting to look at this chart and see
Cool.
yeah, the
You can see
implications.
that in there.
Yeah, so
That's
like
really neat.
definitely something signaling to doing work like that, right?
Okay,
So
cool.
I'm gonna start off first. Again, I'm not sure how much you know about it.
Treat me like I'm completely green, no nothing.
Okay, gotcha. No problem. So in especially like nowadays, pop astrology, you'll hear a lot of people talking about their big three, right? So what is the big three? The big three is your rising sign, which is your ascendant. That's the constellation that was rising in the east the moment you were being born. Then there's the sun sign, which I mean, we're all familiar with that, right? It's the month
Right.
you're born, you're a Libra. And then there's the moon sign, which is the constellation where the moon is when you were born, and yours is in Pisces, right?
Okay.
Now, the moon changes signs every 2.5 days, so it goes pretty quick.
Cool.
And the rising will change every um, hour and a half. So it goes pretty quick. And this is the reason why, like, cookbook astrology doesn't really work. A lot of people will say, "Oh, well, like they'll read their horoscope in the newspaper and be like, this isn't real. This isn't me. I don't relate." Yeah, but that's because you have like 9 other planets and different placements. All this stuff creates like a map. I think this is like a map of a personality, right? And you have your strengths, your weaknesses, and then obviously you have your free will. So you choose to go where you want to go, right?
Okay.
Um, yeah. So let's start off first things first with the ascendant. Okay. So Scorpio was the
Hmm.
one rising when you were being born. So Scorpio ascendants tend to be um, the ascendant represents kind of your physical body and the lens in which you see the world. So how do you approach the world? And they tend to be, they can be intuitive. Scorpio's a water sign, so most of the water signs, they automatically have that
Hmm.
connection, right? To they can feel undercurrents, especially Scorpio. Very decisive. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and Mars is a planet, it's a fiery planet. Uh, they don't mind like diving deep into things. This is what you'll see with Scorpios. They like investigation, right, and research. Um, strong
That's right
personality.
on the screen.
Yeah,
Well, when
it
we're
is.
recording this, it's on the screen when we're recording it. It won't be in the recording, but
Hmm.
that's cool. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so they definitely like to, and then you have this. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can see it here. This symbol here represents the North Node, and I mean, there's so much to it. But when I see the North Node in the first house, this really means like prioritizing yourself,
Hmm.
especially in the younger years, and what you want to do
Hmm.
could have been a little difficult, right? It's always like most of the time I find like those folks will give to everyone else,
Hmm.
and kind of neglect what they want to do. So it really represents like spending the rest of your life learning how to prioritize you, right? And building that your personality up.
Taking me a while, but I'm getting there.
It is good for relationships, but also, if you're if you don't if I find that people, if they don't know who they are or don't know what they want, then it can be a little tough on the relationship too. Like, but this usually these folks do well in relationships, especially when they're younger, because they're ready to give.
Mhm.
Um, Another thing I want to talk about is actually I'm going to skip right up here. So we see two planets; they're directly like conjunct each other. This is your 12th house. So now you have your Sun, you have Pluto, and you have Mercury all in the 12th house. This is what we call a stellium. So a stellium means concentration of at least three or more planets in one house. So a house, you see this number here.
Mhm.
This represents a house, and a house is represents different themes in your life, right? So they're very important. When you have planets there, it just means there's an emphasis on those themes in your life, right? Uh, when we talk about the 12th house, this is the hardest one to talk about because the 12th house is kind of like it's the end. Okay, it's the last house in the chart. It represents endings. The 12th house has to do with escapism, right? Escaping our reality, right? Not really being here, like in I think in Hindi it's called Maya, or illusion, the illusion of the reality that we live in. The 12th house is all about escaping that, right? So
So what would somebody do that has escapism? What would be the types of things that that person
usually it's
would do?
anything creative. Mostly like I'll find like a lot of people who their music, if they're not professional musicians, they play an instrument or they're involved in some kind of band, they do painting. Music and painting I usually see in the 12th house. Also anything that has to do with like being in service of others. Um I see that in the 12th house, or quite literally could be working in an institution. So whether that's a school, a hospital, jails, anything that's an institution that is away from society, or even like you can say, sure, a jail is isolation, right? Being in jail is an isolation, but also being in a monastery, you're isolating yourself, right? So it could be either or, a spiritual place or a not so spiritual place, but it all has to do with like isolation. And
Interesting.
being one with like um being alone and being comfortable being alone. That's it, that kind of the hard part, because the 12th house is everything that's unconscious, right? The things that we aren't like thinking about on a daily basis. So when you have planets there, it's like either you bring that out in other people, right, which will contribute to um, relationships that can be tinged with some conflict there, because no one wants to confront their subconscious or their unconscious, right? Everybody wants to be in
Yeah,
control. And so
absolutely.
when they come in contact with someone that pulls that out of them, it can be, you're probably the
Chaotic.
one receiving like, the aggressive reaction, or like, I don't want to hang around this person because they're make me uncomfortable. But the uncomfortability is them not being able to handle the right.
Right.
So the sun is there, Pluto and Mercury especially. So the sun and Pluto are power planets. Pluto and Mercury together like this is so it gives someone, and I love that it's in the 12th house, because it actually will give you what most people don't have, is some insight into this area of confusion. So the 12th house is kind of like this pink fog. I find a lot of people who are into either like animation, or they are interested in like fantasy worlds, right? Creating fantasy worlds, or playing video games a lot, anything to get them away from reality. I find that a lot here. When you have Pluto and Mercury together, it gives you this insight into um, either like your own subconscious or other people's, sorry, unconscious. Um, there's this laser focus of like understanding things that most people don't understand. So, the houses I want to talk about, like the fourth house, the eighth house, and the 12th house. Those are the houses that are concerned with um, intuition
Mhm.
and being connected to the undercurrents of things. So when I see a lot of planets here, especially like this it's giving like what the energy I got out of it was like you can immediately pick up on things or know things about people um that they wouldn't want you to know or they themselves aren't aware of, right? And you could, so I can see that like you being interested in everything occult, right, is there's
Yep.
not just an interest, there's a deep like I think an understanding there. And
Hmm.
then like you're going deep into it. There's people that will just look at these videos or look at conspiracy theories or uh, dive in just a little bit, but you like there's an understanding there,
Now
right?
I start a podcast with my best friend.
Like we want to talk about this. And that's so interesting because Mercury is the planet of communication, right? And it has to do with getting your message across, right? Like you have an idea or some fact, and Mercury is the one that says, okay, let me go talk to this person about it, talk to that person, spread it around, right? So the fact that you guys are doing a podcast, I mean, that falls right under Mercury, just communicating, right, to the masses.
Wow.
Um,
Cool.
another thing, yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about with this was this Jupiter here, right? So this is Jupiter. Jupiter sitting in the sixth house in Aries. Um, so Jupiter is the planet that has to do with they call it the guru, the teacher, the great benefic, right? It's the one that just it's the lucky planet, right? Um, and we see it's retrograde. So when I see Jupiter here, there's a strong sense of righteousness or what's right, what's good, what's just. Um, um, and there can be sometimes like a level of grandeur. Like I find that you're somebody who not only do you like to research, you like to speak on these things. You like to and there's a theme here in your chart of like philosophy and belief system. So you're probably somebody who has um thought about one's belief system, why you think the way you think, why is the world the way it is, those
Hmm.
deeper modes, like those deeper conversations,
Yep.
you're talking about it, you're thinking about it. That's, the theme, one of the big themes of your life, right?
Definitely, that's me. I can't deny that one.
Um, and then I think like cherry on top in terms of you being connected, like intuition wise, is we have this Pisces moon. So Pisces moons are the most sensitive of the moon sign placements, right? They are the most sensitive because
Really?
Pisces belongs originally it's in the 12th house, right? So if we were to start from the beginning of Aries and like say Aries was here in the first house and travel all the way to the 12th, Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac, right? So they say that Pisces has uh can understand parts of everyone, right? Because it's like all encompassing. And when the moon comes here, these individuals, they tend to be very, very sensitive, like to when you step into an environment, you can tell if somebody had a fight in there or if somebody was like talking about you. Like you can pick up on there was something that was happening there before you got there.
Mhm.
I find Pisces moons as they tend to just pick up on things so easily, whether they know it or not. Either their body will hold it, or it'll come out in some kind of expression. But they pick up a lot, and they tend to be like music is so important to them. Music is so important to them because it helps them to um, maybe purge or process, I should say,
Yep.
a lot of
Music is
emotion.
big for me.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, like across the board. I can't say like how many I've seen. It's just like usually the major culprits are music and painting. That's
Hmm.
what I see. Um,
Yeah.
and to have it in the fifth house, people with moon in their fifth house, they tend to be really, really good with kids. They either like, being around kids tends to bring them a lot of joy. um it's
Hmm.
almost like therapy for them. Kids also find them very like relatable, and have a very easy time being around people with moon in the fifth house. So it's like, I like you have kids, I'm assuming, right? Because I heard no. Okay. Okay.
Those were other kids in the hallway.
Those are-
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Got you. They like. they probably will find it easy to be around you if you had to be around children. Also, moon in the fifth house, they love to create. The fifth house has to do with creative self-expression and the actual act of creation. So whether it's the act of sex or creating art, moon in the fifth house, they have to create, whether it's leisurely, whether it's their profession, they have to create something that's their own. And they usually like don't have a problem being up on stage or being in front of people. Um, Usually they're okay with it. But this is a placement that has to do with like, creating, and then also in Pisces. So I don't know if you're in a band or were in a band, I wouldn't be surprised.
I haven't been.
Haven't been. Okay.
I've been in choirs. When in
Okay.
high school, my aunt was actually the high school music teacher and
Okay.
convinced me to join the choir.
That's kind
So,
of a band. That's
kinda, yeah. I did get free music training that way for singing, but and then I joined the city choir in high school years, the youth choir.
Okay.
So that
Mhm,
was my vocal training, but
mhm,
I
mhm,
always wanted to join a band, but
mhm.
I never did. So,
okay. We're starting a band right now. The three of
right,
us
I'll
right
be a
now.
I'll be a rubber band.
Yes. Dave can sing. I'll play drums. I don't know. Whatever.
I'm
Let's
not.
do it.
Onamie can beatbox, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's see what else. Okay, one thing too I wanted to touch on. So you see this bad boy here, Uranus. Okay, Uranus is sitting right on top of your like literally right on top of your rising sign, right? So that's pretty major. Anytime you see a planet sitting right on top of here, that's pretty major because it colors like you, right? And how people see you, right? And how you approach the world. This is, I want to say, the main reason why your mind will go in areas that other people would consider like out there. Because Uranus is quite literally the planet of out there. It's the planet of rejecting the status quo, um
That's
walking
me.
to the beat of your own drum. Yeah, it's like, okay, but why do we have to do this? Why can't we do this instead? Oh, those people are so stupid. Da, da, da. Like, this is the rebellious planet, right? It throws a wrench in everything that's established, good or bad, right? Standing alone, that's what it does, right? Is the planet we see, when we research rebellions. Even when I was researching the Haitian rebellion, this planet, like Uranus, it has to be in play. It has to be, it's there. It shows up in pretty much every major rebellion, right? So it's a planet that has to do with, you know, walking to the beat of your own drum and asking questions that will upset people, right? But of course, like there has to be someone like that, right? You have to
I
have it.
do that at work.
The best place to do it, right?
But
So
you're not on the rebel side though, there,
Uh,
aren't you? You're on that other, you're on the other side.
eh,
for the
I'm a little
people.
more rebellious. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
for the people.
For the
I'm a
people.
union rep.
Yeah.
I was making a joke about something else. Um maybe we'll reveal that something else later. Okay, sorry.
Oh man. Yeah, so I find that like maybe especially in the younger years, you're having these questions, you're taking actions that are like completely different to your peers, and that can cause some issues, some hardship in life, especially in the younger years. But I find that Uranus, like also it in the first house, there's ups and downs too in like in energy, right? Maybe there's a time period where you have, you can go, 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 right? No stopping. And then just randomly, because Uranus is pretty random, randomly it's just like you can't move, or you just do not have the energy to do certain things. But also like this is the planet that will give you those downloads I was talking about, that lightning I was talking about. This is that planet that does it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was if you had that ability to like get those downloads or like aha moments, right? Where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's happening right on. Also, the houses, they all represent body parts, right? Different, like going from top going down, and obviously the first house represents the head, right? So I find like that's why when I say when Uranus is there, it's usually like people think that it's not just physically, but also into like what's going on in the brain, right? Because originally Aries, right, is in the first house. And I forget which exact part, but if you look at this glyph, there's a part in the brain that looks exactly like this, right? And Aries is there, like naturally that's, the first house is like that's where it starts. So when Uranus is there, it's like you're getting blown up with like downloads. Just like things are coming in at like really fast pace, just out of the blue, out of the blue. Um, and being a union rep, this is so interesting because that was my like I have Uranus in my 10th house, and I'm 10th house is career, and I feel the exact same way you feel about the like the
Yeah.
exact same way. So I this is not that's not a surprise to me because you're looking at power plays, like who's in power and how are they like what's the dynamic, right? Because you're fighting for the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is always the right thing to do. Let me see. So the thing is you have your rising sign here is Scorpio. The ruler of Scorpio is Mars. So Mars is sitting in a place that it doesn't do very well in. This is Mars is in 0 degrees of Cancer. It doesn't like to be in Cancer. Cancer is all about caring for others. Mars is all about doing its own thing, regardless of how people feel. So this can be more of similar like energy to what I was saying, like putting other people first and then kind of not really like feeling bad about it later, or like why did I do that when I could have just focused on myself. So Mars has a really hard time in this space,
Mm-hmm.
because Cancer is asking it to consider others and it doesn't. Like that's not the energy of Mars, right? So there's that little like internal battle. But the good thing is if you care strongly about something or someone,
Mm-hmm.
that's when that Martian energy, that drive, that like vitality, that aggression, that's when it comes out. So you would have to really, really, really like you can't do something you don't care about. You can't
Mm-hmm.
like be around people you don't actually care about because it will suck the energy out of you. So like that's the way to deal with Mars in this area, which could be a problem because there are things we have to do that we don't really give a shit about. And that's
Yep.
really hard. Yeah. Another thing too, we got Saturn here. Okay, so Saturn is very important planet. We have it sitting in the 10th house. So usually I find this is someone's really good at politics here, or they're good at like dealing with politics or dealing with like a mass like big groups of people. Um when Saturn is in the 10th house is your public image, right? So how people don't have to know you personally, but they know of you, right? So, it's like people in your organization, right? You just know them by name and you know them by their job description,
Right.
your public image. When Saturn is there, it can make you are being seen as someone who is very like, you know, you're authoritative, you know what you're doing, even if you don't, even if you might not see yourself in that light, this is how the public at some point will see you, right? Because you seem organized, you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, and you have this feel of authority, right? So it's especially in Leo, because Leo is the sign of like royalty, right? Kings, the monarch, right? And when Saturn is there, Saturn actually rules the masses, right? Everyone that is like, I guess in olden terms, like you have the kings and the queens, the monarch, and then you have, you know, their subjects. And Saturn rules the subjects, right? The peasants, right? The people doing actually all the hard work. Um, so when I see it in the 10th house, it's a really strong place to have it, right? It means later on in life, you know, anytime like past 30, once you hit your 30s,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you start to build your image a lot way stronger. So it's like, all right, but the older you get, the more you're way more established, and like you're definitely seen as someone who's like authoritative in like your own um wherever you end up, right? So because you have Leo here in the 10th house, I mean it's definitely like you're definitely gonna be, maybe I don't want to say on stage, but it's like you have to be in front of a lot of people all the time, or you have to deal with a lot of people all the time, because that's Leo. Is the entertainer. So however you're doing that, you're in front of people all the time.
That bodes well for the podcast.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Standing in person in front of thousands I don't know about.
This is the easiest way to do it, right?
Really,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
We're just three people having a conversation.
Yeah. And then the audience, right? Which we don't see.
Yep, they're just
Um,
clicking.
let's see what else. Okay. Mm, we have Neptune here in the second house. So, oopsie. Neptune in the second house. The second house has to do with the money you make, your material security, and your value system, right? Like what you value in life. When Neptune's there, Neptune is a planet of like compassion, also a planet of illusion, art, right? Pretty things, good things, right? It's the planet of unconditional love, right? So when it comes into the second house, your idea, like your value system is much different from everyone else, right? So if say somebody had like Venus in the second house, they would be concerned with making money, right? Actual material security. But when Neptune's there, which is more spiritual, it's more compassionate, their value system is more of a um being good, to showing that compassion. Money kind of falls to the wayside. Like it's important, but it is not the thing that like will drive you, right? That's not the top of your value system.
Yeah, if it was, I think I'd be a millionaire by now.
Um, let's see. Venus. We have Venus and Virgo. Venus doesn't like to be in Virgo. Virgo is, Christoph is Virgo. Virgo is detail oriented, all about facts, all about like, doesn't necessarily have the time for like the feelings or like emotions per se. Like Venus is all the lovey-dovey feelings, the sensuality, sexuality, luxury items, money, all the nice things in life, right? The things that make this reality a little bit more bearable, right? Music, art, these things. So when I see Venus and Virgo, Venus and Virgo, people tend to, uh, they tend to be a little picky, in the people that they're entertaining, right? People that they're hanging out with. Um, and in this case, it's your 11th house, so the friend group, right? Like, or the organizations that you're a part of. I would say you do love being in organizations, or you do love having a lot of friends around, and they love having you around, right? Because Venus is a really nice planet to have in the 11th house, because you're seen as like caring, and just bringing this like very pleasant vibe. um but it's like these are the people that will sometimes agree to plans early, and then the day comes and it's like, oh god, I just don't want to do it anymore. Usually I find that, but if it's somebody that they really really care about, they don't have a problem. But usually they can be a little picky. Venus and Virgo, not the best place for Venus, but it has its merits. Venus, this Venus rules your sun sign. So your sun sign, really, what that is the sun represents your soul, right? So you'll see like the glyph for it is a circle with a dot in the middle, right? Represents your soul. So as we get older, that's the expression that we are um refining, right? We're refining that expression of our sun sign, because it is our vitality, it is our soul. um and you have yours in Libra. Libras are very, very charming. Can get along with pretty much anyone, right? They and Libra is also, especially in the younger years, and I've seen this a lot. They tend to be people pleasers. Um,
That was
uh,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They tend to just give, 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 unless they have something else in the chart that would balance that out. And so learning how to Libra is the sign of figuring out balance, right? It's the scales, right? It's the scales. So it's figuring out balance, how much to give, how much to take. And that is the dance of Libra. That's the biggest thing that they have to like figure out. Um Very charming, very like friendly, really good in social settings. Um and especially like let me see, yeah, this Jupiter. Yeah. This is it's like there's a big level of like optimism, whether you have the optimism, you have like the you're thinking deep, right? And a lot of people in our day to day don't really think deeply, so when they come across somebody who's ready to have these big conversations, it's like either they run from it or they're very much invested, right? So maybe
Hmm.
people will tell you, oh, uh it's giving like life coach energy, or oh, I've learned so much from you, even if it's like a small conversation. um but you do imbue conversations with a level of optimism, and um, maybe making those concepts or those big ideas, or those philosophical ideas, making them not so big and scary, so people feel a lot more comfortable after. It's like you get them to think, right? And they go home and they think in ways that they would probably wouldn't have before.
Definitely.
Um, yeah. You guys have any questions?
I'm just fascinated with everything because it's so detailed.
It's yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
But
if
yeah,
I
hit on a lot of stuff already. Like I don't know,
yeah.
just I'm sitting here just watching and smiling at the things that you hit, and I'm like, yep, uh huh, yeah.
Same
Davey,
here.
talk about some of the things. Talk about some of the things that have already been hit on here.
Mm. Well, actually, quite a while ago, you mentioned that I would be working in kind of an institutional kind of a setting. Well, and I'd be like kind of solo or on my own, very solitary. I work night shift in an airport in security.
oh no,
Yeah,
It's like going into a prison. You get
it
searched
is.
and
I'm hidden
scanned.
behind a fence with barbed wire on everything.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yep. Yeah,
That's
so I
wild.
feel
Yeah.
like I'm in a prison when I'm at work sometimes, and I'm like, oh, wait, I have to ask to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. I also work in security, so I totally get it. Yeah,
Yep, darn Matrix jobs. Oh, well, you
yeah.
got to pay the bills somehow, right?
Right.
Yeah, because when we follow our passion, it doesn't always pay right away,
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God,
but eventually it
definitely.
does.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot more you hit on too.
Mm.
Like,
Goodness, yeah. I'm
and
trying
it's
to.
like every other thing you were saying, I was just like, I had to put my hands in front of my mouth because I was smiling,
And
and
I'm
I'm
just
like,
going,
yeah, uh huh,
uh-huh. And I'm just
yeah.
nodding, going, yep, yep, that's, yep, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Now, doing this, how often do you get responses back from people about what worked and what didn't? Like,
Um, pretty pretty often. Because mostly what I do is the natal chart reading. That's usually what I get asked to do. Um, and the natal chart reading is really like reading the map of the person's like soul, like their personality, right? Um, so usually I'm pretty good at it in terms of picking up things, just because also I have once you start seeing patterns with the more readings you do, you start to see patterns, right? You can pick up on those as well. But so far, I've had feedback pretty much like I want to say 90% of the time, and it's been pretty good. Especially like I keep going back to the first client that I had through Fiverr, and her being a skeptic, and I remember her saying after the first reading, she said word for word, "I wish my therapist knew about this stuff."
mhm.
Because I think she'd been going to them for almost like 7 years, and there were things that I mentioned that apparently the therapist was didn't couldn't pick that up. So the hearing that for me is like a sigh of relief. It's like, okay, because the thing is, when you're using your intuition, at least for me, I sometimes feel like, oh my God, I hope I'm not talking out my ass because I'm getting things right, but then it's like I really hope I'm not. talking out of my ass, but so far it's been really good.
And that's a logical side of your brain kind of saying, I'm talking right now, and is what I'm does this you don't know what makes sense to the other people, it's
Yep. You got to
uh
let that go.
but
Yeah.
it's not about making sense of them or their reactions. It's just about telling them what and you can see, and whether they react well to it or not. Sometimes you have to tell somebody something that
Yeah.
they're ignoring, and and then
Mhm.
they later on you'll get a nice little message saying, you were right about
Yeah.
that thing.
Oh God, that happens so many times. Oh
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Or you do have to play devil's advocate sometime and
Yeah.
be that person, and then they're like, "Yeah, that I needed that." I've had a few
Yeah.
people go, "Yeah, I did need that." So
Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely. Anything else we're going to see in the chart, or that's about it, right?
Um, there's things, but I don't know, like it takes a lot more to like explain, because like I could go into the houses, right? Um,
No, I think it was sufficient to prove. Now, the interesting thing is, it's the people listening and watching. They're not in Davie's brain, so
yeah,
But yeah, just from what I know about Davie, there's too many things that are just dead on. Too many things, and I'm not going to mention some of them because some of the
that's
things
fine.
that it was dead on with are personal, and
That's the reason too.
we're
That's
not going to
yeah,
talk about it in a
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Well, I guess we could stop the screen share.
Yep, yep. Let's see.
Um,
I think I
there
got
we
it. Yeah.
go. Okay, so based on that, how can people get in touch with you? Like people that would want an astrology reading from you, how do they get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on Fiverr, so my handle is Alien Brain Astrology, on Fiverr, and then I'm working on building up my Instagram. I'm
Great.
trying to do that. So best bet, Fiverr, Alien Brain Astrology.
I love that name. That is so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you so much. That's amazing. And I can tell that there's like even more depth that you go into
Yeah.
when you do a full reading, and you probably spend a couple of hours with somebody doing a full
Yeah.
reading.
How much time does it take? Like the reading that you did for me, that was an audio recording, and it was a long ass
It was,
audio
yeah.
recording.
Yep.
Like it's the amount of dedication and effort that you put in. Like this is tremendous what's involved.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
No problem.
That's great. And one of the things that we're going to be doing here in the Third Eye Alliance official podcast, we're going to make people honorary members of the Third Eye Alliance. Now, something about this membership, if you want to be a member of the Third Eye Alliance, go to thirdeyalliance.com. You can sign up. We're pretty much anybody that we give the membership to, we're going to bring them on the show as a guest. Okay. If you don't want to be a guest and you just want to be a member, just mention that when you fill out the information on the website. But we want to give you a special membership here because you're the first guest on the podcast, and really like the third member now of the Third Eye Alliance. We're going to give you what was I going to call it? We're going to give you basically an honorary founding membership in the Third Eye Alliance. Now, something to know, people at home, we're not going to charge for you to be on our podcast. We're not going to charge you to be a part of the Third Eye Alliance. It's going to be free to join forever. But to have a founding membership, we're going to make you a nice little kind of like a little logo that you can put. And I'd also like to give you a secondary kind of award, if you will, and it's basically the Third Eye Alliance, basically astrology expert
Wow.
logo. So what this is you can display it, and we recognize you as an expert, a high level expert. So you are now one of the founding members of the Third Eye Alliance. I think this might be the last founding member, unless somebody's really special and asks really nicely. I don't think I'll probably give out another one of those. And as well, you are now our first official astrology expert, and we're going to be giving you a little kind of little symbol. We got a little logo that we have up in the corner there, the Third Eye Alliance logo that you saw during the intro. We're going to make they're like they're kind of like patches, I guess.
Mhm.
It's a patch logo. So we're going to be
Thank you
giving you
so
some
much.
patches that you can hide or display, whatever you want to do. But thank you so much for being on the Third Eye Alliance podcast. I'm feeling the wow factor right now here from some of the things that you said.
Thank you.
About Davie J. I'm sure Davie J, like, he's quiet right now. Like, what's going on in your brain, Davie?
I'm amazed at how accurate it was. I mean, you banged it on, banged out everything. It was amazing. Yeah, very, very
Thank
good.
you guys.
You
No,
hit on
yeah.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, because you don't
Yeah.
know when you're doing the
Yeah.
reading. That
Yeah.
logical side of your brain is like, is this real? Is this
Is
true?
right?
Is this actually happening? And
Literally.
that's some of the things that people don't understand, that even the people that believe, there's that little
Mhm.
voice
Yeah.
of doubt that's been
Yeah.
put there by who knows who or who knows what.
Yep. Or sometimes the person's just completely deadpan, no reaction. And you're like, are they
Yeah.
gonna hate me?
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Yes.
inside they're going, holy crap,
They're
she's
literally
accurate.
dealing. Yeah, they're dealing with it like what is happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel totally completely naked in front of everybody right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
we'll have to have you on again, and maybe we'll do some things. What other things can you predict with astrology beyond like a person?
Yeah, well, there's like predictive astrology is something that's been studied for a really, really long time. And you can pretty much predict anything except death. It's hard to predict death. I think predicting like birth is easier, but death is really hard. And most people just don't touch that. But pretty much anything else, if you know how to read it, if you know what techniques to use, because you have to use certain techniques. But this is where I like Vedic a little bit better in terms of prediction, because they have spent a long time like figuring that out, right? Like especially marriage timing and these things, right? So even with any system you use, there is the ability to predict pretty much anything. Like when we talk about like mundane astrology, for example, mundane astrology is about like your day, how your this one day is gonna go, and there's people that specialize in that too, right? So yeah, anything.
Izzy, do you
Yeah,
have any
interesting.
questions for us? Is there
Uh,
something that you want to ask us?
yeah, I wanted to know like how much of like astrology, like how do you find it, like whatever you know about it, how do you what's your perception of it, of astrology?
For me, I got interested in it, of course, as a teenager because it was always like in the newspapers and stuff. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, what's gonna happen if I'm interested in this girl I wanted and say it reading? Oh no, it didn't come true. Just it was, the
Yeah.
usual ones, but having one like this was very eye-opening. So it really does show that it is accurate, and I can see why people would believe that astrology wasn't very accurate or whatever, because it that's almost like junk food versus fine dining. So this is the fine dining instead of reading some
Yeah.
junk food. So that's how I see this. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's about it for the Third Eye Alliance podcast. Thanks everybody for listening, watching. Of course, if you want to know how to watch this, if you haven't figured it out already, you can go to thirdeyalliance.com. We'll have all the information of where we're available. And of course, if you want to become a member of the Third Eye Alliance and appear on this podcast, feel free to go to thirdeyalliance.com and fill out the form to, submit to become a member of the Third Eye Alliance. If you're approved, we will have you on the podcast, unless you absolutely don't want to come on the podcast, and that'll be fine too. But that's it for me, for me, Christoph, and Davie J, and everybody else. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you and hear you and talk to everybody later. Okay.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks everyone.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Take care, guys.
Thank you.